We're talking to Chris Jericho. His book, Undisputed, can be bought at fine bookstores everywhere. Is that true? Can't you get it at really crappy bookstores as well?
Yeah, it's available in some porno shops and some really bad bookstores, a couple garage sales now at this point. You know, now that it's out for a week or two, some people nowadays, they buy the book, they read it, and then they kind of put it online for resale. So it's available pretty much everywhere that they sell anything. If you go to a Indian market in Marrakesh, it's probably going to be on sale there as well.
Now, is your return to wrestling imminent? Is anything cooking in that regard?
No, there was times when I was thinking about going back earlier, but like I said, other things kept popping up. And so I think I'm going to take a little more time, especially since this announcement that I'm trying to make or waiting to make would take place over the summertime. And that would kind of, I couldn't come back for like 2 or 3 months and then have to take another couple months off again. So I'm just working on the book right now and working on other things that I have going on. So I'm not sure. Like, people want to know, and that's the difference between now in comparison to 10, 15 years ago. Fans want the answers right now. They want to be able to go online and look up the exact date that Chris Jericho's coming back. And when they can't do that, it makes them mad. I mean, I was in Phoenix yesterday doing a signing, and I had a 5-minute debate with a guy who was convinced that Vince had a plane waiting for me, like on the roof of the library, roof of the bookstore, waiting to whisk me away to Oakland to be in the Elimination Chamber. I'm like, dude, the pay-per-view starts like in an hour and a half. How could I possibly make it there in time? He's like, no, I know you're going to make it. I know. And that's, I think it makes people a little bit angry when I say that I'm not coming back imminently. But that's, like I said, I've been doing a lot of different things. I have my whole career. And the only thing I can promise is that I'll always continue to do projects. And if Chris Jericho has his name on it and Chris Jericho's involved, you know it's going to be good, because that's kind of the reputation that I've built up over the last 15, 20 years as a performer and as an entertainer.
Kind of like Smuckers. With a name like Jericho, it's got to be good.
Exactly. You know, I'm actually working on my own line of jams at this point. Strawberry, blueberry, raspberry, boysenberry, which is a big Canadian berry.
Now, why don't you book? Why don't you take charge of the creative side of a wrestling company? And I say that because having worked with you and having talked about the business, you're one of the few people I know that I legitimately think could do it.
Well, I mean, I definitely could do it. I would have a team. I mean, I think I'd get a guy like Don Callis, your old pal, a guy like Lance Storm. I mean, there's guys out there I think would have some great ideas and that you could do it with. But, I mean, that's a huge responsibility. And you have two choices. If you're going to do it with Vince, I mean, Vince has the final say on everything, and he's famous for changing things and, turning things around last minute. And that's why, the company's always successful. It's part of Vince's genius. And then TNA, I mean, I don't really know even who's in charge over there, who the boss is. So I'm kind of a little bit too egotistical as well to be behind the scenes. I'm more of an in front of the camera type guy. So if it was ever offered to me, I would probably consider it. But I don't know if I'm ready to do that at this stage in my career, and especially since the fact I think I can still. I mean, when I left the WWE this time, I was at the top of my game. I think the last 3 years have been the 3 best years of my career. So I think when the time comes for me to go back into the wrestling business, it's definitely going to be in front of the camera more than anything.
Well, you're the last of the real heels. I think that's what makes you as unique as anything at this point. You're the last guy who understands the very basic principle that if you're a heel, you're supposed to be booed and hated all the time.
Well, I mean, people ask me quite a bit. I mean, what do you like better, being a good guy or a bad guy? And to me, it doesn't matter as long as people are responding and they're enjoying what you're doing. The real secret, I mean, it's probably easier to make people hate you than it is to make them like you. But even harder is to make people stay hating you, because if you look at the best characters of all time, I'm not even talking about wrestling, I'm talking about in movies or like Darth Vader or Terminator or Hannibal Lecter. They're so entertaining by the time the second movie comes around, they become the heroes almost. And that's the thing about being in the WWE, is being a heel and staying there and walking that line. It's not easy, but you have to do it. You can't fall into the certain traps that a lot of heels do. And I understood that from the start, because, like I said, to me, wrestling is show business. I don't want to be cheered or have even, people like you and me sit in the crowd going, oh, yeah, I really like this guy. Like, I try and do everything I can in all cases to take away anything that people will enjoy. Any kind of catchphrase, any type of merchandise, anything along those lines. I try and just get rid of and eliminate when I start sniffing out that people are enjoying it. I mean, it's still funny to me that when I'm doing these book signings that people will come to me and say, "Can you sign number one hypocrite?" or "You're a gelatinous tapeworm?" Or it's like those are not supposed to be catchphrases. They're not terms of endearment. But people just like them because they're original and they're unique, and people get behind that. So it really is a secret to be able to not get them too involved in what you're doing in a positive way.
As the son of NHL great Ted Lindsay, you obviously have a hockey pedigree. So let's get your input on this. Is hockey being sissified? Let's get the Western Canada perspective.
Is it what?
Being sissified.
Well, I mean,
they want to take away the hits to the head. They're doing everything they can to make the game safer. Hey, I'm a Sidney Crosby fan, so I want to make the game safer. But some people think it's being sissified.
Well, I mean, I guess it's just the way that the whole world has gone over the last couple of years. It's such a PG world, or a PC world. I guess it's politically correct. And if you look even at the WWE, it's PG-13. And if you look at a show like, I don't know, All in the Family or something like that, you could never show that in this day and age with all the stuff that was going on. And it's kind of like that with old-time hockey and the bench-clearing brawls and the blood and the guts. And I mean, the problem is that's a part of hockey, but it's not a huge part of it. You'll get one fight maybe every 2 or 3 games and one bench-clearing brawl maybe once a season. So the people make such a big deal out of it. It's 10% of the game. It's a rough, hard-hitting game. It's always going to be. And that's just part of it. And I don't understand why they try and, like you say, sissify it, because it's not like it's a Roman gladiator game with two guys killing each other. I mean, hockey fights are the most safest fights you could get into. You get in a fight, you fall on the ground, the referee breaks it up, it's over with. It's not like someone's going to pull out a knife and stab you or break a bottle over your head. And that's one thing that always makes me laugh. It's like people go to the extreme with talking about how violent hockey is, and it's really not. I mean, you'll get a couple hard hits, and once in a while there'll be a cheap shot, but you see that in every sport. So I just think it's one of those things that a lot of society or people in charge make a big deal out of it, because that's just kind of the trend of everything, every kind of entertainment or every kind of sport nowadays. And it is kind of tough because it's not what the game was built on.
Jericho, I could talk to you all day, but having you on has enabled us to charge higher advertising rates, which at some point we need to take advantage of. One last question about the great New York Times bestseller, Undisputed. Am I humiliated in the book in any way like I was in the first one?
No, there was actually, the original title of the book was Madden, My Experiences with One of the Greats. But then I realized I couldn't probably stock the book in Target or in Walmart or in Barnes & Nobles because, your reputation kind of supersedes itself. So I basically was forced by my editor and my publisher to eliminate any mentions of you throughout the book. So I have actually another book that I'm working on that I'm probably going to release on the black market that deals all about the times I've had with you and all the debauchery that you've taught me. So, if anything,
that I've taught you.
I talk about myself being Drunkico in Undisputed, about how when I used to drink quite a bit, I would kind of change into this other character called Drunkico. And we all know where that started, Madden. That started with you in Pittsburgh one night at Tattletales down by the Ice Palace. By the
Tattletales.
The old Ice Palace from the early 70s. Remember? We used to go down there, and the times we used to have. The times we used to have.
That is so factually incorrect. I'm not even sure where to start. Chris, thank you as always. The book is called Undisputed. The Pens made a trade. We'll talk about it in a minute. 105.9 The X.